The heart of America is hurting. Kentucky, a state known for its rolling hills and bourbon distilleries, is grappling with a natural disaster of catastrophic proportions. Days of relentless rainfall have triggered widespread flooding, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. Homes are submerged, businesses are ruined, and lives have been tragically lost. This is a story of loss, but also of resilience, as communities band together to face the rising tide. The rain began earlier this week, an unrelenting downpour that saturated the ground and pushed rivers beyond their banks. As the water level rose, so did the fear. Families scrambled to higher ground, some escaping with just the clothes on their backs. The deluge transformed once familiar streets into raging torrents, turning cars into metal coffins. The full extent of the damage is still unfolding, but one thing is clear: Kentucky faces a long and arduous road to recovery. This is not just a Kentucky story, it is a stark reminder of the increasing frequency and intensity of extreme weather events in a changing climate. As we witness the heartbreaking images from Kentucky, we must also confront the reality that such disasters are becoming all too common. The time for action is now. We must invest in resilient infrastructure, strengthen our disaster preparedness, and address the root causes of climate change. The future of Kentucky, and indeed the planet, depends on it. This catastrophe serves as a stark reminder of nature's power and the importance of heeding its warnings. While the road to recovery will be long and challenging, the spirit of Kentucky shines through. Stories of courage, compassion, and resilience are emerging from the floodwaters, offering a glimmer of hope amidst the devastation. The floods have claimed the lives of at least 8 people, a grim toll that officials fear could rise as the waters recede and rescue workers reach cut-off communities. The stories behind these numbers are heartbreaking. A family swept away by floodwaters, a young child ripped from their mother's arms, elderly residents trapped in their homes. Each life lost represents a world shattered, leaving behind grieving families and a community united in sorrow. Yet, amidst the despair, stories of extraordinary courage and compassion are emerging. First responders, working tirelessly in treacherous conditions, have conducted over 1,000 water rescues, plucking stranded residents from rooftops, flooded cars, and even treetops. Neighbors have become lifelines, using their own boats and kayaks to ferry people to safety. The Kentucky National Guard, deployed by Governor Andy Beshear, has been instrumental in these rescue efforts. Using helicopters and high-water vehicles, they have reached areas inaccessible by traditional means, evacuating the injured and delivering much-needed supplies. The Guard's presence has brought a sense of relief to devastated communities, a symbol of hope in the midst of chaos. These acts of heroism are a testament to the human spirit's resilience, even in the face of unimaginable tragedy. They offer a glimmer of light amidst the darkness, reminding us that even in the darkest of times, compassion and courage can prevail. The floodwaters have not only claimed lives but have crippled Kentucky's infrastructure. Over 300 roads are closed, some washed away entirely, cutting off entire communities and hampering rescue efforts. Bridges have collapsed, turning escape routes into dead ends. The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet is working around the clock to assess the damage and begin repairs. But the task is daunting, and the full extent of the damage remains unknown. Adding to the chaos is the widespread power outage affecting over 39,300 homes and businesses across the state. Downed power lines, submerged substations, and damaged equipment have plunged communities into darkness, making communication difficult and hindering rescue efforts. Utility crews are working tirelessly to restore power, but the scale of the damage means that many will be without electricity for days, if not weeks. Clean water, a basic necessity, has also become a luxury for many. Over 9,800 homes and businesses are without water service, their pipes either damaged or cut off by the floodwaters. Another 26,000 are under a boil water advisory, their water supply potentially contaminated. This lack of access to clean water poses a significant health risk, particularly for the elderly, infants, and those with compromised immune systems. The collapse of basic infrastructure has deepened the crisis, adding another layer of complexity to the already challenging rescue and recovery efforts. It highlights the vulnerability of our infrastructure to extreme weather events and the urgent need for investment in more resilient systems. Eastern Kentucky, with its mountainous terrain and numerous rivers and streams, has borne the brunt of the flooding. Pikeville, a city nestled in the heart of Appalachia, has been particularly hard hit. The Pikeville High School, serving as a shelter for displaced residents, itself fell victim to the rising waters and had to be evacuated, a stark illustration of the flood's indiscriminate reach. Knott County, also in eastern Kentucky, has been ravaged by mudslides and landslides triggered by the heavy rainfall. Homes have been swept away, roads have vanished under tons of mud and debris, and entire communities are cut off. Rescue workers are struggling to reach these isolated areas, where the full extent of the damage remains unknown. In Hazard, a city still recovering from the devastating floods of 2022, residents are once again facing the wrath of nature. The floodwaters have inundated homes and businesses, forcing families to flee for their lives. The city's water system has been overwhelmed, leaving residents without access to clean water. The sense of despair is palpable as residents grapple with the realization that their community has been ravaged by floods for the second time in recent years. The situation in eastern Kentucky is dire, with many communities facing a long and arduous road to recovery. The floods have exposed the region's vulnerability to natural disasters and the urgent need for investment in resilient infrastructure and disaster preparedness. Section 5 Western and Central Kentucky, bracing for the rising tide. While eastern Kentucky grapples with the immediate aftermath of the floods, communities in western and central Kentucky are bracing for the rising tide. The Ohio River, swollen by days of relentless rainfall, is expected to reach flood stage in the coming days, threatening communities like Paducah, Owensboro, and Henderson. In Warren County, significant flooding has already occurred, though no fatalities have been reported. Emergency responders are on high alert, preparing for the possibility of further flooding as the Ohio River continues to rise. Residents in low-lying areas have been urged to evacuate, and shelters have been opened across the region. The Rolling Fork River, a tributary of the Ohio, is also expected to reach major flood stage, threatening communities in central Kentucky. The town of Lebanon, situated at the confluence of the Rolling Fork and the Kentucky River, is particularly vulnerable. City officials have declared a state of emergency and are urging residents to take precautions. The threat of flooding in western and central Kentucky is a stark reminder that this disaster is far from over. The rising rivers pose a significant danger to life and property, and communities must remain vigilant and prepared for the worst. Section 6. Rivers on the Rise, a looming threat. As if the initial deluge wasn't enough, Kentucky now faces a new danger: rising rivers. The relentless rainfall has swollen waterways across the state, turning them into raging torrents threatening to breach their banks and inundate communities downstream. The Kentucky River, Green River, Tug Fork River, Rolling Fork River, and South Fork Kentucky River are all expected to reach major flood stage in the coming days. The South Fork Kentucky River, in particular, is a cause for concern. Already at 41.6 feet, it's perilously close to breaking its record crest of 44.3 feet. Communities along its banks are bracing for the worst, hoping that levees will hold and the river will recede before causing catastrophic damage. The rising rivers pose a double threat. Not only can they cause widespread flooding, but they also hamper rescue and relief efforts. Roads and bridges already damaged by the initial flooding are further threatened, making it difficult for emergency responders to reach those in need. The situation is a race against time as communities prepare for the worst and hope for the best. The unpredictable nature of the rising waters adds another layer of complexity to an already devastating situation. It's a stark reminder of the power of nature and the importance of heeding its warnings. Section 7. A wave of support, emergency response in action. In the face of this catastrophe, a wave of support is pouring into Kentucky. Governor Andy Beshear, who has been the face of the state's response, acted swiftly, declaring a state of emergency and mobilizing all available resources. The Kentucky National Guard, Kentucky State Police, and Department of Highway crews have been deployed to the affected areas, working tirelessly to rescue those stranded, clear debris, and provide aid to those in need. The federal government has also stepped up, with President Biden approving a major disaster declaration for Kentucky. This declaration unlocks crucial federal assistance, including funding for individual assistance, public assistance, and hazard mitigation. FEMA teams are on the ground, coordinating relief efforts and providing much-needed support to state and local agencies. The American Red Cross, Salvation Army, and numerous other organizations have also mobilized, setting up shelters, providing food, water, and other essential supplies to displaced residents. Volunteers from across the state and beyond have poured into the affected areas, offering their time, skills, and resources to help with the recovery effort. This outpouring of support is a testament to the spirit of compassion and solidarity that defines America in times of crisis. It's a beacon of hope amidst the devastation, reminding us that even in the darkest of times we are not alone. Section 8. The looming snow, a new threat on the horizon. As if the floods weren't enough, Kentucky is now bracing for another weather-related threat: snow. The National Weather Service has issued a winter storm warning for Tuesday night into Wednesday, with several inches of snow expected to fall across the state. While this may seem like a minor inconvenience compared to the devastation caused by the floods, it could actually exacerbate the situation. The snow will bring with it freezing temperatures which could hamper rescue and relief efforts. Roads and bridges already weakened by the floods could become impassable, making it even more difficult for emergency responders to reach those in need. The weight of the snow could also cause further damage to already compromised infrastructure, such as roofs and power lines. Moreover, the snow could melt quickly, adding to the already swollen rivers and streams and potentially triggering a second wave of flooding. This is a major concern for communities downstream from the hardest-hit areas, as they brace for the possibility of even more flooding in the coming days. The impending snowstorm is a stark reminder that Kentucky is not out of the woods yet. This new threat highlights the importance of continued vigilance and preparedness as the state navigates the aftermath of this devastating disaster. Section 9. A glimmer of hope, recovery begins. Even as Kentucky continues to grapple with the immediate aftermath of the floods, in some areas, the long and arduous process of recovery has begun. In Pikeville, where floodwaters have begun to recede, residents are returning to their homes and businesses, assessing the damage and beginning the task of cleaning up. The focus now shifts to rebuilding lives and communities. The road ahead will be long and challenging, but the resilience of the human spirit shines through. Stories of neighbors helping neighbors, of communities coming together to support those who have lost everything, offer a glimmer of hope amidst the devastation. The recovery process will require a massive coordinated effort from local, state, and federal agencies, as well as from private organizations and individuals. It will require financial assistance, technical expertise, and an unwavering commitment to rebuilding stronger and more resilient communities. This disaster has tested the spirit of Kentucky, but it has also revealed the depth of its compassion and resilience. As the floodwaters recede, the real work begins. The work of rebuilding, of healing, and of emerging from this disaster stronger than ever before.